Hi! Good day to all viewers that watching this. I'm not as smart as you think or something intelligent you dream of. But one thing I can say, when it comes to patterns and geometries, the left side of my brain will work and do. This is Sharon Miguelandez at your service. As we all know, patterns are something that can be somewhat, we say, regularities in this world. They may come in different forms, sizes, designs, and many more. But remember, patterns is not just talk about mathematics, numbers, cubes, squares, or something that we can count, but also we can see and analyze it by the help and power of the great development of nature. Now, here's the deal. Patterns in nature are visible regularities of form found in natural world. These patterns recur in different contexts that can sometimes be modeled mathematically. Natural patterns include symmetries, trees, spirals, meanders, waves, foams, tessellations, cracks, and stripes. But as the wide sea we know, the patterns in nature is big and have a huge meaning. How this help us appreciate the beauty of mathematics and love the environment that made it. And here are some examples that we can see in nature. Try to observe and learn all the way.
Good day, everyone. My name is Charmaine Grace F. Hubertas, and I am here to present to you the patterns in nature. First, symmetry. What is symmetry? Symmetry is the property of an object or something is symmetrical when it is the same in both sides. Reflective symmetry is a type of symmetry where one half of the object reflects the other half of the objects. It is also known as mirror symmetry. For example, on the face of the cat, it is identical on the left and the right sides, or exactly the same. Next is the radial symmetry. It is a type of symmetry in which the sides have partial correspondence or balance around the center line. An example of this is this pandikaki flower. Even if you rotate the flower, which has radial symmetry, it still looks exactly the same for each rotation that you do. Translation symmetry means that a particular translation does not change the object. To identify if it is translational symmetry, if the pattern can be divided by straight lines into a sequence of images that are identical, then there is translational symmetry. The straight lines can be vertical, horizontal, or diagonal. Here is an example. The seat cushion. It is symmetrical because it has the same patterns on both sides. The sides of the seat cushion pattern are identical in shape and similarity of structure. Regularity in form and arrangement, and orderly and similar distribution of parts. Now, let's proceed to the spiral. So what is a spiral? Spiral is a curved pattern that focuses on a central point and a series of circular shapes that revolve around it. An example of this is the motor spring shock. The separation between the point's origin and the angle at which it is rotated, a curving design with a central point at the center and a number of circular shapes revolving around it. Thank you for listening, and now let us proceed to the next patterns.
I will discuss the tessellation, fracture, and cracks. I will discuss first the tessellation. Tessellation refers to the act of tessellating, forming such a pattern that can be described as tessellated. Tessellations are tiling patterns that cover a flat surface with patterns of 2D shapes with no gaps between them such that no area is left uncovered or overlaps. Tessellation comprises of same size, not all, but also in varying sizes as long as it fits and uncovered. There are more kinds of tessellations: the regular, semi-regular, and demi-regular tessellations. One of the examples of tessellation and the most obvious is sunflower. As you can see in the middle of sunflowers are constructed using the patterns contains two types of spiral. An example of that is the repetition of an incredible image. For instance, regular tessellation has properties and needs that the tiles must be regular polygons and all the same. Each vertex must look the same. Same tessellations can be also named using number system. And now, let us proceed to fracture and cracks. The cracking patterns that are being examined here, like those, are typically observed in dried mud. Many environments naturally have fracture patterns. A fractal pattern gets more complex as you observe it at a larger scale. A fractal is a detailed pattern that looks similar at any scale and repeats itself over time. The fundamental parallelism between the physics of paraelasticity and thermoelasticity can be seen in the patterns of fractures that appear during drying and chilling. An elastic body has a tendency to contract and even shatter when it cools or dries. As a drying body loses water, it creates an internal pore pressure as a result of capillary processes. In conclusion, as mathematical involved to it, mathematics is all around us as we discovered in our environment. There is more math in nature that would trick our eyes, and it's even lovelier knowing that there is a deep mathematical order to it.
The topic assigned to me was to discuss patterns in nature, particularly the wave, the bubbles, and foam. Bubbles and foams are patterns in nature that are formed from repeating spheres. Foams consist of these teeny tiny bubbles that are packed together in a fractal pattern. Take a look at this. This is an example of bubbles and foams. As you can see, we have bubbles right there, and those teeny tiny packed circles or spheres are what we call foams. So as you can see, those are foams that are packed together with the teeniest of bubbles. But foams are sometimes referred as a mass bubble. But other types of foams can be seen within the patterns of certain animal species such as leopards, giraffes, and tortoises. Right now, let's talk about waves. Even if not visible at times, waves are actually repeating patterns with specific wavelength, frequency, and amplitude. Waves can be represented with mathematical models. Representing a wave as a function of distance helps us find its wavelength. Representing a wave as a function of time can help us find its period, and from there, its frequency. Take a look at this. This is what you call a wave. Oceanic waves may be approximated mathematically by a sine wave, and therefore it exhibits a smooth, regular oscillation.
For the seventh pattern, the stripes and spots. Let us first talk about the stripes. It is not mathematically created as symmetrical or proportional patterns, but it does have immediately apparent uses in nature. The good example for this one is the stripes of zebras and tigers. As for zebra, they use this for security. They usually in a herd, making it difficult for a tiger to attack them. On the other hand, the tiger's stripes are also a form of camouflage, allowing them to hide throughout the jungle and hunt for their prey. The uses of zebra and tiger stripes have their own purposes in nature. In order to survive in jungle, the tiger must be alone, while zebra must be in a herd to blend and avoid being attacked. Let us proceed to spots. It is a small mark on a surface, such as circular patch or stain, varying in color or texture from its surroundings. The good example for this pattern is the spots of cheetah. Just like stripes, the spots help break up the shape of an animal and provide a form of camouflage, which greatly benefit the predators such as cheetah to survive in nature. For the eighth pattern, the fractals. The fractals are best described as nonlinear pattern that infinitely repeat in different sizes. The perfect example for this pattern is this plant, which is called fern. As you can observe in the picture, the uniformity and repeating shape of its leaves, although the form appears in varied sizes. Ms. Galindez will be discussing further the other types of pattern.
The ninth pattern, the mender. Mender includes a series of regular sinuous curves, bends, loops, turns, or winding in the channel of a river stream or water course. Mender is a pattern in nature we can see through rivers around the world, the curvy flow of the water and the bendy path like a snake. As the river makes its way through an area that's relatively flat, it often develops bends as it erodes its way through the path of less resistance. When a river shifts its channel within a valley or it swings from side to side, it flows across its floodplain that produces a meander pattern. Now here's the theory for you. Meander named from the Menderes, that historically known as the Mender. Rivers in Turkey are most often formed in alluvial materials that thus freely adjust their shapes and shifts downstreams according to the slopes of the alluvial valley. The 10th pattern, affine transformation. Affine transformation are the process of rotation, reflection, and scaling. Many plant forms utilize these processes to generate their structure. In some cases, it generally we can see in broccoli and cauliflower. Each of leaves of the fern is related to each other leaf by an affine transformation. For instance, the red leaf can be transformed into both dark blue leaf and any of the light blue leaves by combination of reflection, scaling, and translation. The affine transformation technique is typically used to correct for geometric distortion or deformation that occur in non-ideal camera angles. Wait. Don't just end it just like that, because here the last and 11th pattern that we always see but somehow we forgot. The parallel lines. The parallel lines occur throughout the nature. For example, tree trunks and many flowers go straight upward as they stretch toward the sunlight, and that creates a parallel lines. Layers of sedimentary rock which can be observed in cuts made for roadways are also create a parallel lines. There is so many things or patterns that we always see in our daily lives, just like the simple parallel line. But we tend to deny their existence, but somehow we use and see it every day. Patterns is not just a typical decoration, but also give us knowledge and learnings that we must know and acquire.
The world is a busy place that is naturally unpredictable and chaotic, yet there is balance to be found in the regularity of nature's cycles and patterns. Nature's repeating patterns such as flowers' symmetrical arrangement of petals or pine cones' regular series of notches help us find logic and order in our lives. Wherever you look, nature is constantly arranging itself in a way that is aesthetically pleasing and also enables us to see the beauty of mathematical relationships that underlie the natural world. That ends the discussion about the types of pattern in nature.